Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right?
Oh!
The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa,
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
and we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome. This is Wacky Wednesday on the Arrowhead Addict channel. I'm Adam Best, here as always with Sterling Holmes and producer Richard doing his thing behind the scenes. You know what I'm glad about this week? No Lou Anarumo and no Justin Simmons. If Patrick Mahomes has any semblance of kryptonite, those are the two guys. I don't know if they're kryptonite. I don't know if they're Lex Luthor or who they are, kind of tripping up Superman. I'm just glad we won't see them again, presumably this year.
I don't know, man. I don't mind playing the winless Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, the winless Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh man, that game had to hurt Monday night. Jaden Daniels coming out party. All I had to say, Joe Burrow is a very good quarterback. I don't think he's QB2, as the people in Cincinnati doth protest,
It's in for 4 years. It's Josh Allen. Maybe people will finally believe me.
I know. How many times have we debated this here in this program? And we don't agree on a lot of things, but we definitely agree on QB2, Josh Allen. And also, Lou Anarumo does seem to get to mess with Patrick's head, but that defense doesn't look the same anymore, does it?
Well, that was their Super Bowl. So they lost the Super Bowl to the Chiefs the week before. So, I mean, Super Bowl hangover, some say.
Well, we've got a great show for you guys today. We're going to explore some narratives that may or may not be true. But what is true is our partner, Underdog. Fantastic. It's the greatest time of the year again. Football is back, and it's here to stay till February. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog. Went up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite player stats. For me, I love Best Ball Mania and Best Ball Resurrection, but there's plenty of things you can do over there. It's not just football either. I think they have basketball, of course, but I think they even have like golf, right?
Anything baseball.
I
just about baseball.
They have, if you want to bet on something, well, not bet on something. How should we say this? Fantasy, test your fantasy skills on something on a nightly basis. It is a great place to go. Basically 365 days a year. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with promo code Arrowhead Addict, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Arrowhead Addict to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer.
Must be 18 plus, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
That was great, man. I was the starting pitcher, and we called you in from the bullpen when I was starting to this is the hard part. I need some help. Now and then we like
Twista. It's like Twista in a song. Whenever Twista comes in, you should call him.
What was that? Overnight Celebrity or whatever? Like, I'm trying to think of a song with. I'm a normal speed rapper, and then you're the speed rapper. You're Bone Thugs and Harmony. Now and then we like to zoom out and ask scary philosophical questions.
If my answers frighten you, Vincent, then you should cease asking scary questions.
We have a Pulp Fiction clip now. Love it. And I know Patrick Allen will love it. He's a big fan of that movie. And if you're a Chargers fan, this question will be very scary because even under savior Jim Harbaugh, this is a snake-bitten team. Let's go back to last week. The Bolts lost both tackles. Joe Alt sprained his MCL. Rashawn Slater strained his pec. Crazy that they lost both tackles. And we know what that's like, right? Quarterback Justin Herbert tweaked his ankle. He seems like he can't get right this year. And then Joey Bosa, I feel very sorry for Joey Bosa because he's been hurt like 1,000 times in his career. He's just hurt more than he's healthy at this point. And now Derwin James is facing a suspension. He will not play this week versus the Chiefs. It's fair to ask, will the Chargers ever get it together and become a true contender? Or is this just something we're going to talk about like theoretically until the end of time?
Well, I just don't think they do a very good job of taking care of their guys. I mean, Justin Herbert had a high ankle sprain and they put him back out there. Like, send him a week, send him two. Again, I know everyone wants to see the guys go out there and play, and Justin Herbert's going to give you a better chance of winning. And if they obviously knew what was going to happen and they were going to lose to the Steelers the other way, well, of course they would have sat him. But like, they don't do themselves any favors, is what I'm getting at. It's like anytime like Mike Williams played through like a broken back, and they're like, "Yeah, go on out there, kid, go try and make some plays." Like,
unreal.
What? Like at some point. It's not just unlucky, it's foolish. It's not luck involved. It's you are harming these guys. Not all of them. Obviously not all of them. But it's what the Chargers do. They're built on an Indian burial ground somehow, and they're perpetually gonna be injured, but they don't do themselves any favors. How they're doctors. Can you trust them giving them shots in the lungs? Like they're just.
That was the old trainer, though. So
Yeah.
this problem transcends. It's multiple trainers, it's multiple cities, multiple head coaches, multiple GMs, really multiple quarterbacks. The only consistent here is ownership, and I wonder if that's where the buck stops. If there's something that they're not, I don't know. They're just not setting the tone for that franchise. Taking care of one another, doing things the right way. There's got to be something. This has just happened for too long with the injuries. I think it's more than that, though. They just can't ever deliver on the premise of the promise of the Chargers being this preseason darling. This year was a bit muted, right? But I think there was a little bit of Jim Harbaugh is really the quarterback pairing with Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh. That's the most serious challenge long-term to the Chiefs when you look at them versus the Broncos, who don't have a franchise quarterback. I don't care what you say about Bo Nix. He's not one. The Raiders, who definitely don't have a franchise quarterback. So this was supposed to be the team that was going to kind of get it together and maybe even challenge for a playoff spot this year. I don't know. I'm starting to get cold feet on Justin Herbert as a player. I like the tools. He's a nice kid. He really is. He's a great kid. Everyone seems to like him. I just don't know if he has that thing, and he gets hurt a lot too, but you can't really control injuries. But I just haven't seen him take that step forward like we've seen other quarterbacks continually progress. He seems to be almost moving backward.
He's almost in the Trevor Lawrence territory of the idea of Trevor Lawrence. The idea of Justin Herbert outweighs the production of those two guys.
Is it a hair thing?
I don't know, man. I think both are talented quarterbacks, but at some point it's not just talent. You got to go in the field and do it. We haven't seen that a ton from either of those two guys. But when it comes to the Chargers, leaving San Diego is brutal. That's part of it. They don't really have a fan base in LA. I think Jim Harbaugh is a great head coach. I think they finally at least got the head coach right with Harbaugh. Like they at least got that going for him. So I'll give him that long term. This year, things were looking good. They could have been 3-0 if Herbert stays healthy. I get that. But the injuries happen. They're 2-1. They're trending down. I like Ladd McConkey. Quentin Johnston's at least had a nicer season this year than last year, but again, there's no easy fix. There's no, they almost try to put a Band-Aid on an airplane for this season when they should have almost torn it down to the studs, get to the root of the issue, fix it, and then go from there.
I get that they want to protect Justin Herbert. I really do. And I like Joe Alt, but I argued during draft season that they should have picked Malik Neighbors, because when you can put a player like that with your young quarterback, your young franchise quarterback, that is something you really got to have a guy like that. I'm just not sure. I really don't think Quentin Johnson is, even though I will say I've been surprised by his play so far this year. And I think Lad McConkey is going to be a good player, but Malik Neighbors, man, he looks like a transcendent player. He looks like he might already be a top 5-6 receiver in the league straight out of college. It's crazy.
I mean, Joe Alt was the best right tackle in football the first 3 weeks as a rookie before the injury. I mean, he had a bad game against Watt, but the first 2 weeks he was insane. He was going one-on-one against Max Crosby and stoning him. Like Joe Alt's, no, that's the one thing I will not agree with you on. That's the one time where I go, Joe Alt's the right decision. It was a smart decision. They got it right. I know it looks bad because he's been injured, but Alt's insane. Alt's going to be a perennial All-Pro.
You know, I think sometimes we go a little too far with this receivers growing trees. I agree there is a surplus of wide receivers, not top 8 receivers, not like dudes like A.J. Brown and Justin Jefferson that you can drop in anywhere with any quarterback and they're going to go nuts. And Malik Neighbors is that kind of player. But I don't totally disagree with you that this is just kind of apples, oranges. It's Penei Sewell versus Jamar Chase all over again. There's really no wrong answer. The wrong answer is Kyle Pitts, right? That is actually the wrong answer to that quiz. It's interesting to me that J.K. Dobbins, of all people, is the one that's healthy and killing it and looks like maybe a Pro Bowler there in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Well, we will get to a prediction later. We just wanted to dive in and kind of discuss the snake-bitten nature of this team. I actually, maybe some Chiefs fans won't agree with me. I actually feel bad for Chargers fans, all 12 of them. I really do, because this must be a tough team to root for.
Yeah, tough life living out there in LA. Yeah, I really feel for them.
Well, a lot of them are in San Diego, which is a pretty nice
I feel
place
for you
to
less
live.
if you live in San Diego. LA, I actually might feel for you. San Diego, I have zero sympathy. If you live in
70
San Diego,
degrees
you're
every
living
day,
good.
right?
If you live in San Diego, you're living good. You're okay. You live in LA, different story. You live in there's some rough parts there. You live in San Diego, you're okay.
For the record, I like LA, but I see what you're saying. A bit of business here. Mint Mobile, with big wireless providers, what you see isn't what you get. The price magically skyrockets somewhere in between the store and your first bill. With Mint Mobile, you won't have to worry about that. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month, they mean it. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/arrowhead. That's mintmobile.com/arrowhead. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/arrowhead. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Let's move on to a new segment, taking crazy pills.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
We had Pulp Fiction. Now we have Zoolander. In the age of hot takes and instant narratives, we sometimes miss obvious things. This segment aims to point out those instances. This is going to be free flowing. I'm going to rant a little bit, but this is not Hot Take Kingdom. This is just, sometimes I can't believe, whether it's Chiefs media, Chiefs Kingdom, NFL media at large, how these kind of narratives set in. And I just kind of think they're wrong. And, you see things emerging on, of course, expecting Twitter to be rational is a fool's errand, but it's pretty much everywhere. The social media attitude has proliferated the entire sports world. So we're going to do part 1, A and B here. You can interrupt me at any time. Feel free to. And part 1 is we need to have a dialogue about Drue Tranquill and Justin Reid in coverage. So the stale talking point is that Nick Bolton sucks at coverage, right? I know this drives you crazy too, Sterling. I think
wrong. He's not great in coverage, but he doesn't suck in coverage. I will die on that hill.
it goes too far, right? It goes
Yes,
way too
agreed.
far. He's not Fred Warner, but he's been pretty good this year. I think he's probably been the top 3 or 4 coverage players for the Chiefs. You have McDuffie, obviously, and I think Chamari Connor is great. But after that, I mean, Nick Bolton's played really as well as anyone. And meanwhile, other Chiefs defenders have struggled back there. We'll start at linebacker. Drue Tranquill has a PFF grade of 30 the past 2 weeks. 30, freaking 30. And I know PFF grades aren't the end-all be-all for everybody, but 30 is like pretty much mere Sterling being out there. It is literally hard to do that 1 week per season, let alone in back-to-back weeks. What the hell is happening here? I really can't wrap my mind around it because coverage was supposed to be his strength. That's why he was brought here. That's why he was brought back. He's the NFL chess champion. He's a brainiac. He went to Notre Dame, supposed to be a super smart guy in the field. And I thought he was last year. Yet last week, it was Najee Johnson telling him, dude, they're doing a pick play. We got to swap here or they're going to score. And it was a blown coverage because he couldn't get on the same page as Najee Johnson. Drake London got an easy touchdown. My brain really hurts thinking about all these blown coverages from Tranquill just because this was just super unforeseen for this particular player. And I think one of the things that stings me the most is Leo Chenal only played 14 snaps last week, and he's not getting on the field. I don't know if this is Spags veteran deference. We'll get to that again later. That kind of the same thing we saw with Sorensen and Willie Gay not playing. But Sterling, let me ask you, can Drue Tranquill get back on track here?
Yeah, I think he can. He was great last year, but he looks bad this year. He looks slow this year. You trusted him enough to move on from Willie Gay Jr., who signed a 1-year, $3 million contract, because you thought, quite frankly, Drue Tranquill could be up for the challenge. So you extended him for a 3-year, a little over $6 million per year contract, and he's been bad. I like Drue a lot, and I do think he gets it figured out. But I don't know why there's such a slow start for him. He was really good as a pass coverage linebacker last year in that role. I don't know why he's dropped off so much. I don't know why he looks so slow. I know they asked him to put on a little bit of weight to help in the run game, but like this is a drastic drop-off. I don't think him turning 29 all of a sudden means that he's Anthony Hitchens level speed now. Like this is, but I am a little concerned because it's 3 weeks now. It's not 1 week. Like Nick Bolton looked horrible week 1, and then week 2 he looked better, and then week 3 he looked phenomenal. We haven't seen that from Drue. He's been bad all 3 weeks. I'll give it a couple more weeks for him, but yeah, if he doesn't look better, I think you're going to have to start putting more Leo Chenal in there or Jaden Hicks in that somewhat of a coverage linebacker role if you have to. But yeah, I've been really disappointed with Drue so far. I do think he figures it out, but I'm starting to get a little worried.
It doesn't seem like it's an injury thing. There's really no explanation for it. So we're just going to have to look at Drue's track record and hope that he's more of the guy that he was last year than the guy he is this year. And he was pretty damn good the year before in Los Angeles. I almost said San Diego. I think the knock on him there was that he's not super good against the run. Very good blitzer, very good in coverage. But it's just weird to see someone's biggest strength become such a weakness overnight. I don't understand it. But let's move on to Justin Reid. I'm sure this won't get me into any trouble at all. He is a useful player and a strong leader who, frankly, I'm just going to die on this hill. He's never been very good in coverage. He just hasn't. And it feels like most people have blinders on here. He struggled in the past. This year, he's been a liability. He makes every tight end he plays look like peak Antonio Gates. That's what's going on right now, whether it's Isaiah Likely, Mike Gesicki, Kyle Pitts, who's a good athlete, but it's other guys. It's Eric All. It's Drew Sample. It just seems like we're getting destroyed. The Chiefs are getting destroyed by tight ends week in, week out. The last 2 weeks, he gave up 8 catches for 123 yards, including a 50-yard bomb to Kyle Pitts. It seems like he's always a step slow or almost falling down or something. And look, I get again that he's a good leader. He's strong against the run. He hits hard. He seems like a good guy, but he's got the team's 5th biggest cap hit, people. And this level of play for that level of pay, it's simply unacceptable. So given all of this, Brian Cook's been a little bit better in pass coverage in my eyes, but he has not been like lights out or anything. So my question again, we have this emerging seemingly star in Jaden Hicks, who looked like at times the best defender on the field for the defense in the preseason. Why aren't they playing him? And I think something has to change here with both Tranquill and Reid, or this will cost the Chiefs come playoff time. I've said enough. Sterling, has Justin Reid lost a step? Is this rust due to him being injured in the preseason? What is going on here?
Yeah, well, I don't think you're taking Justin Reid off the field for Jaden Hicks. I really don't. I don't see that happening. I get where
because
you're
of
saying,
contract or
just in general. I think just because of the leadership, and he's the leader in the secondary. Like he's that guy. Plus, he's so good against the run. He's very good on design blitzes.
He is.
I get what you're saying. He's not good, relatively speaking, as a coverage safety, right? That's not his strength.
He's a box safety.
Agreed. So keep asking, like, where he's all of a sudden going to change into a good coverage safety. Be like, again, I like Nick Bolton a lot, but that is his weakness, is coverage. He's never going to be a great coverage linebacker. That's fine because he has all these other strengths. Brian Cook, more or less, is brought in for that reason. Last year, Mike Edwards was that guy to kind of be your coverage safety. Jaden Hicks isn't going to come in for Justin Reid. Not this year, at least. I like what Justin Reid brings overall. Has he struggled? Yes. I do think, though, part of it is the injury situation. If I'm going to give Nick Bolton some runway up to that, I'm going to give Justin Reid some runway up to that. How I'm going to give Joe Tooney some runway up into that. When Charles Omenihu comes back, I'm going to give him some runway back. Like, it's different, especially for defenders. You might be a step slow coming back, trying to get your feet underneath you. I'm not as worried for Justin Reid as I am for Drue. I'm still happy with what Justin Reid provides for this Chiefs defense. I get he's not a perfect player. I get his liabilities can at times cause some frustration. But I'm not ready to be like, he needs to see less playing time. They need to figure something out. We need to see Hicks over Justin Reid. I would like to see Jaden Hicks, correct. I don't want to see it in regards to him taking snaps away from Jay Reid.
I think what I was saying is not Jaden Hicks needs to necessarily replace one-for-one Justin Reid, but maybe I think getting him out of some of these coverage situations, maybe having him in the box more exclusively, having him blitz more, having Jaden Hicks alternate in to see what he can offer in coverage, just maybe not expose him so much because he's playing like literally every play, he and Brian Cook. And so far it hasn't worked out. I do think we need to give him the benefit of the doubt to some extent, because I still think he had issues last year, but he's been worse this year. And not only did he have the injury, what was it, the quad in the preseason, he's dealing with a hand or something. That
both hands, a broken finger on one and a laceration on the other.
It probably shouldn't affect his speed and his coverage that much, but it can't be fun to play with. So I think with both these guys, probably better days are ahead, but it just seems like Chiefs fans, Chiefs media, we don't ask questions about these two players as much as we ask questions about, say, Nick Bolton, some other guys. So I just thought it would be interesting to take a look. Now let's move on to part two. And this is something that really blows my mind. And I swear to God, I'm not fabricating this. Once every 2 or 3 years, it seems like people just decide they're going to pretend like the Chiefs offense is worse off than it is. And we saw this same kind of thing with the Patriots. So Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid did not choose a dink-and-dunk offense because they suddenly suck. And I think the reason why this narrative is kind of setting in that there are bigger problems with the offense than there probably are. And I think there are some problems, but for media types, you have boredom. For opposing fans, envy. For Chiefs Kingdom, I think it's frustration. Like, I'm frustrated. They're second to last in explosive plays. The ADOT, average depth of target, is super low. But trust me when I say Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes still have it. They're going to figure this out. And me more than anybody, I would love to see them go full bombs away, Legion of Zoom again. I think that kind of like high scoring passing attack aesthetically is my favorite kind of football, but a lot has changed league wide. Everyone plays two high shells. You know why they do that? They do that because of Patrick Mahomes. It didn't happen in a vacuum. Patrick Mahomes
in the 70s. Well, it came out in the 70s.
It's cyclical. Right?
It's cyclical.
But it came back because Mahomes and Tyreek Hill were torturing defenses. And they said, we've got to make this harder for them. We've got to keep everything in front of us. And because of that, Mahomes sees the most extreme versions of these defenses. He sees super light boxes and no blitzes. They're just kicking 7 or 8 guys back every time, just saying, we're going to make you be patient, go 15, 16 plays, and it's going to drive you crazy because you can do all these magical things on a football field. We're not going to let you do them. We're not going to let you show your big cannon arm or go full Harlem Globetrotters out here. We're going to make you be late career Drew Brees, and you're not going to like it. And we've seen a little bit. Patrick gets frustrated and tries to play outside of himself and get back to being that guy. But I don't really think this is going to change a ton because opposing defenses, they don't have any respect whatsoever for Kansas City running backs. And I think that's especially true with the workhorse that is Isaiah Pacheco now out. Don't you agree, or maybe you disagree here, that opposing defenses are just saying, if you want to run Carson Steele and give him 4 or 5 yards every time, do that 20, 30 times a game, knock yourself out.
Yeah, and that's fine. And the Chiefs should take advantage of that and not put the ball in harm's way. The issue is you have to eventually score in the red zone and not settle for field goals. That's fine and dandy. I'm all cool with these 15-play drives, 15 plays, 70 yards. Yes, it's dink and dunk. No, it's not super fun to watch necessarily. But if you end it in 7, that's what you're supposed to do. But if you do that and then you stall, that's what the defense wants. The defense is basically conceding a field goal in that situation. They're saying, yeah, it's fine. Move the ball. Do what you want to do. You're going to get into the goal line situation. You're getting inside the 20 and into the red zone, and we're going to stop you. And that's basically what teams have done to the Kansas City Chiefs. They're banking on the Chiefs and Mahomes to an extent saying, hey, we know what you want to do. We know you want to make some plays happen. And in a 15-play situation, we're banking that either one time we stop Carson Steele behind the sticks, where you're going to have a drop, or you're going to get frustrated and throw an interception. That's what we saw on the interception that Justin Simmons came down with. They got a little greedy in that situation, and the Falcons took advantage of it. The Chiefs, they should play the dink and dunk style. What I'd like to see, though, is a little more getting Xavier Worthy the ball. Hollywood Brown would help. The Chiefs don't have a lot of explosive players on this offense. They have some good players. I love Rashee Rice. He should thrive in this, but he's not the most explosive guy. We know what his sprint speed is. If he was a little quicker, he'd be a first-round wide receiver, but he wasn't, so he was a second-rounder, right? Mm-hmm. Xavier Worthy is someone they need to get the ball into the hands of in the middle of the field so that we can make one guy miss. Don't always run him on these streaks, and now he's got 2 guys. You can't let him do anything. Let him run some Rashee Rice routes and let him have a chance to go one-on-one over the middle of the field. Then he can make those guys miss. Because the Chiefs have an explosive player, but you can't run to explosive play. Get the ball into the hands of your playmakers because, again, the Chiefs don't have a running back that teams are scared of. Carson Steele is a really solid piece, but he's going to be a 4 or 5 yard guy. Samaje Perine, solid piece, 4 or 5 yard guy. Isaiah Pacheco, really like Pacheco. He's a 4 or 5 yard guy. His long this year is 11 yards.
Damn.
That's not what their offense is built around. So you're going to have to be a little creative, or maybe not even creative is the correct term here. Maybe you just got to be a little more patient. The Chiefs can totally win this way, but patience is a virtue.
Yeah. And I actually think Patrick, for the most part, over the past 2 years, has been incredibly patient, almost impossibly patient, given the situation he has been put into both seasons. It has to be hard sometimes when you can do what he can do. And it's like having one arm tied behind your back. And you mentioned Hollywood Brown, that injury, that's really hamstrung this offense. He was going to be the answer to the test when it came to, can you stretch the field in a way you couldn't in 2023 and 2022? And he got hurt right before the season started. So they really didn't have time to adjust. And sure, Xavier Worthy is fast. He's already a fairly well-rounded receiver for a rookie, but he is a rookie. He needs time to develop play strength. He's very slim. He needs time to develop chemistry, playbook mastery. We saw last year with Rashee Rice, it was a tale of two halves the season. The first half of the season, just kind of a slow ramp up, a gradual ramp up. And then the second half of the season, in the playoffs, there was an explosion. And I think that was probably the plan for Worthy. And now he's been thrust into developing faster than is probably fair, given the player and the circumstances. But I do think they need to get creative, finding ways to get him the ball, not just like vertical speed, horizontal speed. He can stretch the field this way too. Just get him some slants as well. I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah. Two comments I want to get to really quickly. One is from Ronson Trait. Great name. When was the last time we won a Super Bowl with a running back that teams feared? No, I'm not disagreeing, but that's also why you're going to see a lot of close games and why you're going to see such light boxes. I don't disagree. The Chiefs are still going to win. No. That's why they're 3-0. I'm just saying it's going to continuously be like this until, again, they'll win. I'm not disagreeing with the statement, but it's making it a lot harder and less explosive. That's more or less what I'm getting at here. And then the other one was ruin my T. That was just a bad throw by Mahomes, LMAO. I don't care how much we can blame the offense overall for that interceptions to Simmons. Well, that's kind of my point. Was I think he got a little impatient.
Yeah,
I'm not blaming the offense. That's all on Pat. I mean, I think, again, he got maybe a little impatient there. And in the red zone, another frustration. Again, it's tough to complain when you're 3-0 winning back-to-back Super Bowls, but here we are, and so I'm going to do it. I would like to see him spread the ball out more in these 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1s. If you're not going to do a QB sneak, right? Spread the ball out. Spread it out. Let Mahomes throw it. Let him get some one-on-ones on the outside. Get some lighter boxes, because right now you're just so pigeonholed right there. Everything's in the middle. You're making it harder on yourself. Just because it's 3rd and 1 doesn't mean you're not allowed to get 5 yards. I never got that. Like, I never understood why everyone's like, well, it's a 1-yard play. We got to get 1 yard here. You can get 4. You can get 5. Hell, you can get up to 9 if you're on the 1 yard line, on the goal line, because you got the back of the end zone. Like, I never really understood that. I get you're trying to make the safe play here, but one of the Chiefs' best plays was like a 4-yard little out route. Like, maybe I'm taking crazy pills here, but the 3rd and 1 play you keep running ain't working.
No. What came to mind when you were talking is I would like them to do some more play action on 3rd and 1. And maybe that's when you take the shot, because that's the only time you're going to see heavy boxes with Mahomes. They are scared to death of him. They don't want to take any chances, but on 3rd and 1, they will creep up. And if you're expecting a handoff to Carson Steele, some play action goes really nice right there. The other factor for why this is happening is the left tackle spot. There's been a revolving door these past 4 years. 4 years ago, it was, I guess, because Mitchell Schwartz was hurt, it was Niang and Orlando Brown Jr. as 2 new starters. The year after that, it was Brown again and Andrew Wiley. And then last year, 2 new starters again in Donovan Smith and Juwan Taylor. And this year, Juwan Taylor and Kingsley Suamata-Ia and Wanye Morris. That is a startling lack of continuity. Frankly, I don't think any other team would try it with any other quarterback. And this is just the amount of faith Brett Veach has. I think some of it's situational, I think it's
the Ravens have 3 new offensive linemen.
How's that working out for them?
No, but to say that another team would try it, I think it's part of the salary cap era.
With the tackle to this extent, you think, though? And if you go back the year before, it was so it's like 5 seasons in a row with a different set of tackles. That's pretty unheard of.
I'm with you, but quite frankly, I think Juwan Taylor this year's done a nice job. I really do. For a guy who's been hard on him, I think he's done pretty good. And then I thought Wanye Morris had a good game. I really did. He had 2 pressures that were bad.
People keep saying that. Go ahead.
He had 2 pressures that were bad, and what did he do? He didn't get in his dome. The next 2 plays after that, he demolished his guy. Again, I know it's the Falcons. I'm not saying this is he's going up against Trey Hendrickson or Max Crosby every snap, but Wanye Morris did his job, and Andy Reid talked about it after the game. He said something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing here, of Mahomes is going to look back at the tape and realize he had more time than he had because Mahomes got a little happy feet, especially in the first half. And Andy was basically alluding to, hey, he didn't need to. The offensive line was holding up and doing their job. You got to trust him. Now, is that a case of going from Kingsley, who was a sieve the week before, especially in the second half? Could be. And so Mahomes was constantly looking over his side, even if Kingsley was not in the game. Again, I have high hopes for Kingsley long-term, but this was why I wanted Wanye Morris to be the left tackle starter coming out of camp for this reason. It's so damn hard for left tackles early on in their career, especially as a rookie, to be successful, even if you're a top 5 guy. That's why even Joe Alt was such a surprise for how good he's been so far. It takes time. You got to get that NFL body, that development, get you with the coaching staff, and you got to see what you haven't seen before. This ain't Maction, baby. You don't have weeks off. Every single week you're going up against a dude, against a stud. I guess for me, I think Wanye should be the left tackle, at least until they completely trust Kingsley, because I don't want the revolving door. But at the same time, I completely understand the Chiefs' moves and why they either kept or did not keep their tackles over the past few seasons. And again, I think Wanye is going to be serviceable, a la Donovan Smith was last year.
I think we have to have some perspective here and be fair to Kingsley because he was losing to Trey Hendrickson, not Arnold Ebiketie. Arnold Ebiketie winning fast on you like that, like ridiculously fast on you, is a much worse rep than getting wrecked by Trey Hendrickson. So I think we have to kind of keep that in mind. The situations weren't equal. I did think Wanye kind of came in, had a really good second half once he got his feet wet and once he got into a rhythm. So yeah, that was good to see, but I don't think this positional battle the season is over by any stretch of the imagination. And I also think what is true is, regardless of how you think these guys are playing, Patrick doesn't trust them yet. And there's statistics that prove this. His pressure to sack percentage is about 5% worse than typical. And that's a pretty big number for that particular statistic. His time to throw is half a second faster. That's considerable. It's like, it's usually 3. Right now, it's about 2.5 seconds. So he is feeling antsy. He isn't trusting things. He's getting sacked more. He's throwing more interceptions. And yet they are one of the 5 undefeated teams. So I think when you come back around, you say, I would love to see them win pretty, but you don't get any bonus points for that. The Lombardi Trophy goes to the best team regardless of style points, right? So winning ugly works too, especially when you're the hunted. We have to remember that every single team circles this game at the front of the season and says, we want to prove ourselves when everybody's watching against the Chiefs. And then we have to kind of give ourselves a history lesson, because both of the last 2 seasons, there was some iffy tackle play early on. And then we came to the playoffs, and it was just a masterclass by Andy Heck, Andy Reid, and the offensive line. They basically played flawless both of the last 2 playoff runs, epitomized by that famous 0 sack game against the vaunted Philadelphia Eagles pass rush that led the league in sacks. So I'm going to ask you here on a scale of 1 to 10, Sterling, how worried are you about this Chiefs offense not having that explosive element?
Like a 3. Didn't have one last year and they won the Super Bowl. I mean, I get it's not as fun to watch, but as far as worried about them winning or making a Super Bowl, no. I mean, no. They got a track record. And whether or not the explosive plays are there or not, Xavier Worthy's a new piece. Rashee Rice is entering his second year and looks like a young Amon-Ra St. Brown. Mahomes has been the main issue, I think. I love Mahomes. He's going to figure it out. He'll be fine. But if you had to give me one spot where I think the Chiefs have somewhat struggled over expectations, the biggest one's been Mahomes. I mean, to start the game, he was throwing everything low. He's thrown some bad passes that are a little inexplicable at times. Like, who's been the most, I don't want to say let down, but who's been the biggest drop down of what we thought? It'd be Mahomes. And I'm not worried about Mahomes. I'm not.
The biggest drop down has probably been Kelsey too, right? Neither of those guys have really been themselves yet. And I think we have a long track record that says they will be themselves. I'm not worried. This feels very like 2021, strangely, except the difference was that they started off 2021 1-2, 1-3, something like that. And they're 3-0 this time. So the problems really aren't plaguing them to the point where it's affecting their record. They have to iron this stuff out. If they're still doing this in week 15 or 16, yeah, I'm going to worry about the Chiefs. But it's just funny to me. I listened to some national podcasts. I'm not going to put anybody on blast yet, but they're already talking about, do we have to like put Josh Allen as Patrick Mahomes' equal, or even this season, the best quarterback in the league? And they just always have to go back here. They can't just say that even Patrick has mini slumps. I think Patrick has been so good, we forget. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, every quarterback who has ever lived has slumps. And it's not unnatural for him to string 2 or 3 bad games together. And I think the fact that he does it so infrequently makes it alarming when it happens. But it's not weird. I mean, sometimes we wake up and we have an off day. Sterling's sick today. He's not having an off day because he's just that much of a professional. But we all have off days. However, I don't think it's going to be an off day for the Chiefs come Sunday. And let's move on to our final score predictions. I'll go first. Chiefs 27, Chargers 10. This is a depleted Chargers team that, it's a tailor-made situation for George Karlaftis, who I thought was a lot better last week. He had one rep where he showed a lot of athleticism, bend, and won quickly. And that's what we want to see if he's going to keep progressing as a talent and as a player. Mike Dana's kind of been shaky. So I think them not having their tackles, that is a get right opportunity. And also on the other side of the ball, no Derwin James for Travis Kelce. Another old friend alert that kind of can frustrate the Chiefs at times. I think Travis Kelce's going to have a get right game himself. What's your prediction, Sterling?
Yeah, 28-17. Then the Chiefs offense takes a step forward. You notice they didn't pick a single field goal. And then the Chiefs in the red zone step up this week. I think no Derwin James is huge. I think Travis Kelce, as you're mentioning, breaks out. The return of Kareem Hunt, I think he probably vultures a touchdown if he gets into the game. I could see Kareem Hunt vulturing a touchdown. They like doing this. Whenever a guy comes back or a guy joins the team, they like getting him involved, even if it's an easy touchdown. They did it with Josh Gordon, right? Anyone could have caught that little screen pass, but they wanted to give him some confidence, right? I could do the same thing happen with Kareem Hunt in this one. I'll go 28-17 Chiefs. They don't typically blow anyone out. Maybe I'm being silly again. I mean, 11 points is still a 2-score game. Even if it's Easton Stick, it's so hard to pick like anything crazy. And maybe I'm being too generous right now. Maybe it's a walk-off field goal with Easton Stick in the game, QBing for the Chargers, knowing how the Chiefs have played recently, how they like to keep every team in it. But I'll go 28-17 KC.
Yeah, hearing you talk, I'm thinking maybe my margin of victory is too big. But if there's a time for them to do this, it's this week. And last year around this time, they blew out the Bears, who looked kind of shaky coming into that game. So it does happen. It's just most of the time the Chiefs are their own worst enemy and tend to keep other teams around. I know other fans of other teams won't like to hear that. And sometimes other teams beat the Chiefs or are the Chiefs equal, but that is far and few in between. So Sterling, let's move on to what's spinning. What's spinning for you right now? What are you listening to, man?
Make Yourself by isn't the album, is it Make Yourself by Incubus? Is that the album title?
The Orange album, isn't it kind of like an orange
one? It's not Morning View, it's the second one. It's the one after Science. Really good one. I love this album. I like Incubus a lot. So I'll go with this one. Make Yourself, that album by Incubus. I believe again it's their second one.
My college years, man. I'm going to go with Beck Guerrero. Here you go. I'm going to see Beck this Sunday night at South Star, a new music festival here in Alabama. Pretty excited about that. But yeah, just Beck. I love how each album feels like a total departure from the previous one. That's kind of like Bowie-esque of him. So big Beck fan, have been since Loser, really. So 30 years now, and I've never seen him live, so I'm super psyched for that. So
he's
hopefully
great live, dude. You'll love it. I love Beck. Great album too. Guerrero's great, but yeah, I love Beck. He's awesome.
So if we can just take care of business quick with the Chargers, so I can get to this festival, that would be fantastic. But we've already took care of business here. That's all we've got. If you dig AA, here's how you can help our community grow. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel here. Also, mash the like button on this podcast. That helps our YouTube channel grow. If you're listening to this, the audio version over on Spotify or Apple, leave a 5-star review there. You can ask a question. Patrick is really good about getting to those questions on Thursday, and sometimes I'll be on those shows too. Verderam will be on those shows too. So it's a chance to engage with us and get your questions answered. And be sure to check out the mothership. We don't always plug what Matt Connor and the team are doing on arrowheadaddict.com, but it's been around for almost 20 years now, and they're doing great work. So be sure to head over there too and read what they're doing. And lastly, thanks to the chat. You guys always bring it. We wouldn't have much of a show without you guys. So thank you so much. Join us live next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Central right here on the Arrowhead Addict channel. Until then, go Chiefs.